I want to begin by thanking Bernie and Bobby Foster for inviting me to be here with you this morning. It gives me a great amount of honor and privilege to be able to come down to Portland, especially for your 33rd annual tribute to the life and the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. As was just mentioned, I got the opportunity to lead the effort to make Martin Luther King Jr. County a reality. We started in 1999 the effort to rename our county in honor of Dr. King. It was already King County, but it was named after Rufus Devane King, a person who became the vice president of these United States in 1852 under Mr. Pierce, who became the president, and Pierce County was named after him. And this county way out in the wilderness was named after the vice president. But he was only vice president for 6 weeks, and when he died, he had 169 slaves on his plantation back in Georgia. We didn't think that was a very appropriate symbol for a multiracial, democratic county like King County. So we began the effort to change, and it took a long time because a lot of people didn't go for it. Actually, I got the opportunity to meet Dr. King when he came to Seattle for the only visit that he made to the Pacific Northwest and his life that I know of, and that was November 8th and 9th, 1961, at which time I was a sophomore at Garfield High School. And the Reverend Samuel Barry McKinney, the pastor at Mount Zion Baptist Church, had tried to talk to big civic auditorium owners to allow Dr. King to speak in the great city of Seattle, but they all said no. He asked larger churches, like the First Baptist Church of Seattle, who first said yes, but the congregants got so upset with the pastor for saying yes to have Dr. King speak at their church that they put so much pressure on him that 7 days before he was scheduled to speak in November of 61, he called Reverend McKinney and said, "You can't speak here." Fortunately, Garfield High School and the biggest and most prestigious Jewish church in Seattle ended up being the only two facilities that allowed him to speak. At the time, Garfield High School was the only predominantly black high school in the entire state of Washington, 55%. And when he came to Seattle, it was to jumpstart a movement for open housing in Seattle. He said to us students, and we hadn't thought very much about it, that you all live in a community called the Central Area that is now the 5th most segregated city in all the land. 88% of the black community of Seattle in 61, about 24,000 people, lived in the Central Area. Not because there were explicit rules or laws that said, y'all gotta live in the Central Area. It was the racism in Seattle was much more subtle than that, in that the folks that were in power somehow were able to pass covenants in every neighborhood, in just about every neighborhood in the city, that said that you cannot sell your property to Negroes. Matter of fact, most of the 12% of blacks in Seattle in 61 that did not live in the Central Area lived in our housing projects. Holly Park, Rainier, Vista, Yesler Terrace, and High Point. So we were a highly segregated community. But I'm very happy to be here at the Red Lion this morning to spend the rest of the minutes that I have talking to you about a little deeper meaning than we usually get on Martin Luther King Jr. about his dream. People say, well, he had a dream. You heard him talking a little earlier. And part of his dream was that he wanted little black girls and little black boys to be able to walk hand in hand without anybody fussing about the fact that some of them are black and some of them are white. And indeed, he did say that he wanted his 4 children to be judged by their character and not by the color of their skin. But for some reason, many whites in our country believed that was the essence of King's dream. But if you think about it, that is not what Dr. King worked on the most. He worked he worked for changing the institutionalized racist essence of most of our institutions and structures in this country. He worked to end the significant humiliation experienced by most black people in the country, whether they lived in Portland, Seattle, or anywhere in the South. He wanted to create a new man and woman in America that had different sets of values than what was being practiced in our country, judging people by their color, working hard to make sure that folks who worked hardest and did the most labor got paid the less, and to have that justified on the basis of them being inferior was a philosophy that had to go. And he wanted, lastly, to create a situation where the children and the activists and the movement, whether it be the Montgomery Improvement Association, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, particularly they're going to work with him to bring about change in America, they had to do it on the basis of new values, new vision for what America ought to be about, and that it was not going to change unless we carried values like using nonviolence. Can't use violence to bring about change, said he. We cannot use hate to bring about change, said he. And if you're going to use those strategies, you're not going to be able to participate with us. And I would like to submit to you, and this is a strange statement to make, where we discourage a lot of our youth from being involved because we do not want them to get hurt, and we're concerned about their basic impulses and values. He decided in Birmingham, Alabama in 1963 that they would allow young people under the age of 18 to participate in the battle for changing America from institutional racist society to one that did not judge people by the color of skin, or at least did not deny people their basic humanity each and every day by telling them that they had to use a separate bathroom, separate fountain, and if they wanted to get something to eat while they were in downtown Birmingham, they would have to order it and then go around to the back door to secure it. And they certainly did not want to continue this situation of riding buses in Montgomery or Birmingham, where they, by law, had to sit or stand in the back of the bus whenever there was anyone on the bus that was white, because the reinforcement of the inferiority was the law of the land, at least a particular space that they were in at the time. And all that had to change. But he told the kids that we can't let you go out here if you're going to be calling the police names, if you're going to be booing them. We want you to love them, and we want you to tell them that. Not the kind of love that y'all are used to, but we're talking about agape love. You love people because they're fellow human beings. You love them because God loved them. That's why you love and respect them. And that's what we want to create in Birmingham, a society where people are loved because they're human beings and not judged by the color of their skins. And if y'all adhere to that, you can participate in this great movement to change America to what it professes to be like, a society that respects and works for and allows the democratic participation of all people. And the children enthusiastically said yes. And it was marvelous, it was absolutely marvelous that Dr. King was able, with the help of James Bevel and Andy Young and Jesse Jackson, all his lieutenants, to get hundreds and hundreds, now thousands and thousands of kids to honor those basic principles of nonviolent, direct action without a lot of foolishness, with the solid aim toward breaking the back of segregation in the city where most of them have been born and their parents have been born and their grandparents have been born, but none of them have been able to actually experience basic human respect because they were being judged and treated as black people who were inferior and needed to stay in their place. And those kids responded. It is said by most historians that it is not likely that the back of segregation would have been broken in Birmingham, Alabama, if it were not for the participation of black children ages 7 to 17. 3,100 of them went to jail. 3,100 of them went to jail. And they were put in jail cells that were built for 25 people, and 125 children were put in these jail cells. When Birmingham was not able to find any more jail cells to put the kids in, they went around the city in the suburban communities to identify parks and playfields or park grounds, or where they could fence it off and keep the kids in there. And this all happened between May 2nd and May 7th, 1963. And they were amazed by the number of kids that kept developing these little raps while they were in jail, talking about, we love y'all, no matter what the police would say. They would tell the police they loved them. The police didn't understand what was going on. They just said, oh, these Negroes is crazy. But they used another N-word to describe the kids. And the kids just kept smiling and said, we love y'all. They had captured what Martin Luther King Jr. wanted the entire nation to capture in terms of the values that we need to profess and carry out if we want to run around talking about we are an exceptional democratic nation, and we don't even recognize, historically speaking, the contributions that are being made or could be made by our people of color. When the first settlers got into the United States in 1620 on the Mayflower, white settlers, there were already about 18 million Native Americans residing here. Today, there are 1.5 million Native American who reside in the United States of America. They were killed very rapidly because of the need of the Europeans for their land and the fact that they were to develop this racial philosophy that the Indians were savages, uncivilized, but the Indians were the ones that had their hands cut off for not bringing gold forward, for not working hard enough. The Africans were brought here and existed for 246 years up until 1863 as slaves and had to work from sunup to sundown for no pay, regardless of how hard and significantly their work was. There were some black women, and I think that this movie, 12 Years a Slave, kind of pointed out there were some women that picked twice as much cotton as some of the men, but it did not mean that they got more pay. Like we're taught in modern days, if you work hard, son, and you're motivated, and you try to help and be supportive of other workers, you'll be rewarded with more pay. No, not if you are a person of color during this time or this time, as quiet as it's kept. That is not the case. But that was the kind of America that Martin moved to. I don't know why, speaking of the treatment of colored folks in this society, when we went to war after December 7th, 1941, why would the Congress and President Roosevelt sign legislation that would automatically put every person of Japanese descent that lived on the west coast of America into concentration camps just because they were Japanese? And this was a war to make the world safe for democracy that was fought against Japan, Germany, and Italy in particular. But I didn't see one Italian or one German American put in jail for the duration of the war because we were fearful of them because we were at war. It was because the people were non-white, and in America, unfortunately, we created this philosophy of racism in order to keep the non-whites out of the mainstream of democratic life. Martin was about the opposite. I want to conclude by giving, and I like the fact that some of our senators and our governor all talked about various aspects of what Martin would be doing if he were here with us today. And I want to reinforce some of the points that they made and perhaps mention one or two that have not been mentioned, and then retake my seat. But before I did that, I see that James Kelly is out in the audience. And James used to be the head of the Seattle Urban League for many, many years. And he now works for I think it's New Avenues for Youth, a youth program down here in Oregon. But he's the one that we started in 1983 to get an African American museum. And then in 2006 to 2012, he took the mantle by the arm and ran with it, and he raised $16 million, and now Seattle has one of the biggest and best Northwest African American museums. Let's give it up for James Kelly. I see Randolph Carter in the audience too. He was born and raised in Seattle. His dad started one of the first community and human services programs in our great city. So I'm pleased he's here. And then Promise King is one of my African brothers from Nigeria who made me a king. I kind of like that because I don't know what I'd have been back in Africa. But he bought me this robe and hat, and I started going down the hall at the King County Councilor. Said, I'm y'all's king. They looked at me like I was crazy. but promises in the audience. And then in closing, in terms of introductions, 3 people are in the audience. Denise Ragland is my cousin who lives here in Portland, and she was born here. I graduated from Grand High School, very active in BSU back in the 60s, along with her sister, Janine. Also, Michael Taylor, another one of my cousins, is in the audience. His mother was born in Seattle, but the family moved down here. And then last but not least, my beautiful wife, I don't know where she is, Rhonda Gossett, Rhonda Odin Gossett is in the audience. And here's a lesson for you women and men who get to hesitate when you see something or someone you like and you just sit there being quiet. Learn from Councilmember Gossett. I saw Rhonda when she came in to register. Remember when I was introduced, I was at one time the supervisor of Black Student Division in the Office of Minority Affairs, University of Washington. This new student came in, and I was in a meeting and I saw her at the corner of my eyes. I said, "Excuse me, ma'am, sit down, have a seat. I'm your counselor, I'll see you." And she didn't know. She sat down. I heard you up. You got the 3 people that were in my office. And I said, "Come on, young lady, come on into my office." And I got her name, address, phone number. And then I said, "Now let me introduce you to your real counselor." But we've been together since that day, 44 and a half years. And I want to mention Ms. Gaia Paul. I'm very close with her sister Pramila, who is the only Indian congressperson in the United States Senate that represents the inner cities of Seattle. So let's give it up for all these. Martin Luther King would, if he were here today, would say, "Look, man, I want to build bridges, not walls. All this nonsense is going on. I want jobs that pay minimum wage for every able-bodied woman or man in this society that can work, and we have the ability, America, to provide meaningful work for everyone in this society, regardless of race, gender, anything else." Look, in the United States of America, and this is one difficulty that I have with how Donald Trump got 53% of all white women vote. White women couldn't even vote in this country until the 1920s. The privileged classes are not somebody that y'all or we need to be identifying readily with. So the folks that talked about voter suppression, they were really right on, because it is still a big issue in our country. Martin Luther King would have been saying something about it. Lastly, he would be very concerned about our medical situation, the outrage of the criticism of the Affordable Care Act that many white right-wingers call Obamacare, like naming it after a black man that happened to be president once, is going to denigrate it where we can kill it. And I'm so happy that they haven't been able to kill it yet. But Martin Luther King Jr. would have been about national health care. If you're born in a country that professes to be the most democratic in the world and the most down for its people, why would health care not be something guaranteed to all of us at birth? And lastly, this attack on immigrants and gay people would be stuff that he would not accept. He would, like many progressive politicians, say we are a country of immigrants, and stop this particular vicious attacks on Mexicans. 1 or 2 Mexicans 1 or 2 years ago killed somebody on a bridge in San Francisco, and all Mexicans are murderers, or they rape somebody, they're rapists. Yet the objective facts are that people of Latino descent in every state in this country commit fewer crimes than blacks, whites, or any other group in our society. Yet we are all going to be These are the kind of issues that Martin Luther King Jr. would be about, and all I ask in closing is that each and every one of you pledge this morning, where we celebrate his 90th birthday, and he died at 39. Oh my God, what America and the world would be like had this cat lived another 51 years. But nonetheless, he said, you know, the night before he died, that he'd been to the mountaintop, and he's very confident that the rest of us in this room and in this society will join him someday, and it'll be the kind of promised land that all of us will enjoy living in. Thank you very much for your attention.